Here.
And Ronnie Barr.
Here.
And myself, Mark Patterson, all here and present. Good to see everybody here. 3 of us online, 2 of us are here in the room with our great and awesome oversight coordinator, Kristen Johnson, and of course, our foundation, George Cho. Thank you, George, for being here. Let's move on to item number 3, our discussion of the legislative priorities for the 33rd legislative session. And may I add, I won't add it this time. All I know is that the state is going through some issues in regards to federal funding, and they're going to have to be very innovative and creative this session in order to continue the services that they do for our 50th state. So, Martha, would you please help us?
Okay. Each year for our newer commissioners, I review all the bills being introduced and select ones that may concern us based on our mandate. Some are just for monitoring purposes, so we're aware of them. So let me go through the individual bills, and please make comments as we go through if you have anything you need to say. The first is the claims against the state. We merely monitored this one, but as introduced, it already had a $600,000 bill as a result of a wrongful death suit at Halava Correctional Facility. So that's the reason we monitored to see what's going on with public safety. The next one is a housekeeping bill, and this is repeating. It's already in our statute, but now it's adding it to another statute that employees of the commission are exempt from Chapter 76. So they are not civil servants, but they have all the rights and privileges of civil servants. The ones I'm going through first are from the governor's packet. So the next one was submitted by the Department of Public Safety, and it is adding public safety to the peer support counseling bill, which provides confidentiality when they feel they need to talk to anybody. Any comments about this one? Or
You just can't
Support.
do any decision making before you open it up for public comment.
no, I'm asking them, even for them to make comments.
Yeah.
So I have to go through them all before you
No.
vote?
You can. So you can go through them all, or you can open up public testimony since they're all listed. So because the public knows which bills you're going to.
Oh, public testimony first.
Yeah,
Then we-
Oh, I'm sorry.
because they may want to recommend that the commission supports or not supports something.
All right, I'm a little confused.
So for each agenda item, before any decision making.
Before decision making.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to go through and discuss them all, you can.
Oh,
You
so
can't
we can
make-
discuss, we just can't make decisions on them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Or you could do it at the same time if you allow the public to comment first.
Yeah, we don't want to go to, that would take us much too long.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is parole eligibility, and this is amending a section of corrections law that requires incarcerated persons include participation in correctional programs for parole eligibility. It is amending it to add substance abuse, work furlough as part of the vocational education, other programs designed to assist the committed persons successful reintegration into community, all of which are in the scope of the programs. This requires the incarcerated persons to participate in work furlough before released, but we as a group have been finding again and again that inmates are not moving through the system fast enough. Like the last time we were on Maui, only 2 inmates were participating in work furlough. So my concern is that this could slow down people going through the system. Next is
Marcy.
you folks gotta, can he speak?
You can
Yeah.
speak, just no
Oh,
decision
okay.
making.
Go ahead, Mike.
My concern, 8 years on the parole board, most of which was semi-satisfactory, but very frustrating if they have a bunch of misconducts, and whatever that means, and those are oftentimes sketchy. I don't buy all the misconduct stuff. They don't get much of a prompt hearing, and then they can't get through the program because they're full, be it RDAP or work furlough, is that the train slows down. I think part of my job as their oversight commissioners, speed the train up a little bit.
Okay.
And so I just want to voice my concern, and it was a consistent one And then at the very end of the calendars, I want the commissioners to understand this. I get so much files that put on my dining room table. My wife and I couldn't even eat dinner half the time. It's so thick. But at the end of each calendar, we get some weird little thin thing about reducing, speeding it up. I don't think there's much due process in parole. And I'll say that to anybody, and I respect parole. So I'm just letting you know it's frustrating. We need to speed it up. That's all I have.
Yeah, while this bill is not specific to the misconducts, your point is very well taken about how the train gets slowed down at different points. The next is state budget. What we do is monitor the state budget, and if there is another hearing, we of course support DCR's requests that relate to rehabilitation and programming with the state budget. Under bail, I asked the judges to go through this because this is not my area of expertise. Did any of the judges sitting on our commission want to make comments about the bail bills? I will say the first one excludes public assistance income when considering financial ability to pay for bail. And I understand, Judge Brown, you already mentioned that may be something that judges take into consideration already.
Yeah. And I think it's worthy supporting just on that one point. I mean, I don't think judges consider financial assistance anyway. In their applied common sense and reasonless law implies that you must. But I mean, it puts it, there are a lot of new judges, so as I said in my written remarks, of the bail, all these bail bills, that's about the only one that makes any sense for us to support.
So for the next ones,
Question, Mark. Do the judges get training on setting bail? My concern
No.
that I try to avoid having what I call like wallet biopsy. How much money? The millionaires get out right away, and the guy that has, or gal that has $10 bail doesn't get out. And we need to, in many states, including recently New Jersey and California, there's no cash bail required, which is that's my general view of life, and maybe that's too controversial.
again,
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not familiar enough with the bail bills, so I'm going to ask whether one of our judges can go through the bail bills. But in the past, we have testified on bail bills because it impacts the number of people who are held pretrial, and we can reduce the population. So we have always participated in these.
Well, I think that's absolutely the mark that we use to determine whether or not the bill is worthy in terms of bails, because it does affect the pre-trial detention population, which is way above what it should be. I think to Mike Towns' point, yeah, I mean, I think definitely there is a big issue when it comes to the current practice or current way that bail is being handled. But as to the SB 2279 and the other bills after that, 2280, that's SB and SB 2732, and as well as 2762, on and on. I mean, if you're asking me, look at having read those, they're basically administrative, and they have to do with the various different players within the bail system, like the insurers, the agents, all that stuff, that nothing to do with pretrial detention. The only one that might have anything to do with pretrial detention is what I said in my remark to the written comments to Kristen, and that was with respect to 2413, HB 2413. There seemed to be some merit there in terms of some sort of support from us, because it sort of does affect.
Okay.
If you read that.
Do either of the other judges have a comment? Because I'm staying away from these. I'm not that familiar with the bail process at all.
Yeah, I agree with Mark regarding those bills, and the ones that I look at that we should support is basically the first one, the HB 1516, because that's on its face, basically, clearly discriminating against the rich and the poor. In fact, cash bill does innately discriminate against the rich and the poor anyway, because if you got the money, no matter how much the bail is set, you're gonna pay, you're gonna go out in setting bail, because in fact, well, some judges, I used to tell them that basically, do not use bail as a substitute to trying to hold them without bail, because it's kind of no bail if you can't pay, right? Well, but so the first one, 15, 16, I think we should support. The rest, like Judge Browning says, is basically trying to improve the system with trying to tell the players within the system, you gotta do your job, this is what's gonna happen. And basically, we have no control over what the other players in the system do. Basically, if everybody did the job all the time in the criminal justice system, I don't think we'll have as much problem. But the last one that I think that Browning pointed out really would make an impact. If we support too many bills, it'll just draw away from our focus, I think. And so, our focus is basically population overcapacity, and basically the bill goes more than beyond population capacity. It really goes into due process of persons in jail, pending, not convicted yet. So it makes things look backwards, because person of jail is for the real serious offenders, right, to protect the public. But when these people are in jail because they can't post bail, and then after, because they're in jail so long, the prosecutor offered them a plea deal, they want to get out so quick, they'll take the plea deal, and just what happens is, because of the pressure of being in jail, unable to post a bail. The other concern I've always had is basically, if these people were in jail because they couldn't post a bail, they're so dangerous that threatens the public. If you look at the time that they're sentenced, they get always given time served. They're out. If they deserve to be protected, if the public deserve to be protected from them, they should be in jail when they're sentenced. But that's not usually the case. So all the bills I just support, basically, I think is the first two Mark pointed out.
If I could, I'm in 100% with Judge Ibarra and Judge Browning. I did send out to the commissioners, I looked up cash bail on AI, forgive me, but it's real clear. Even the AI says cash bail is not real helpful. And I appreciate James Lindblad chiming in sometimes, even though he's got a business to run. He doesn't want to unduly set it, because then if somebody runs away, he has to track them down. So anyway, I'm in agreement with Ron and Mark here. Thank you.
And I just noticed I made one mistake, that SB 2732 actually is a companion bill to HB 1516, which has to do with the financial ability to afford to pay bill. Yeah, so I just crossed that one off the bottom of the list. I appreciate very much your comments and you folks educating me on the purpose of these bills. Now we're going to reentry and rehabilitation. And this is the compassionate release bill. So I turn this over to Mark and Kristen, because they attended the first hearing, which was a good one.
Yes. So the commission opted to strongly support this bill. This was a bill that myself, DCR, HPA, community members, and also a national organization called FAM had all personally sat down and worked to write this bill. So we're very proud of it. It's unclear what's going to happen. Decision making was moved to next week on both the House and Senate sides, so I'm not sure what they're going to decide on it. But the biggest factors was that people who were against the bill were hesitant about including life without parole and mandatory minimums. In addition to that, there was a lot of conversation regarding the notification to victims. This bill currently doesn't remove it. It just says that it doesn't have to happen. So it's not saying like victims shouldn't be notified. It's just saying that 60-day requirement doesn't need to be applicable in these specific cases due to, usually fast decision making has to happen. And 60 days is too long. I think people will die in that time frame. those two topic areas were the biggest things that came up, if I'm remembering correctly, about people being hesitant.
Student topics.
So that's it. So we supported testimony and support on both the House and Senate side.
Good.
The next is SNAP benefits for, first of all, those who are nearing release being allowed to apply for them, and then for those who are released to be eligible for them. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture federal waiver is required to pre-approve pre-release SNAP applications. 13 states have already gotten this waiver, and for those who have been released, federal law allows states to opt out of federal disqualification of convicted felon drug offenders from receiving SNAP. 28 states and DC have already done that, opted out. So this is making SNAP available to our offenders as they are applied while they're still incarcerated and receive post-incarceration.
Yeah, and this was one that already had a hearing too. We did write testimony in support. It says that it wasn't submitted. George, do you know if it was submitted?
I'm gonna double check it.
Okay, we'll double check, but we should have submitted testimony in support of that bill as well. That hearing was on 2/3 and it passed with amendments.
Offender re-entry programs, this for model programs for inmates is by expanding the list to include the types of programs offered by the department, and the appropriation section is blank right now, but it does include GED, higher education, career training programs that work with nonprofits in the business community, mentoring programs, and earn and learn programs. And I don't, like right now up at Wyava, we do have the carpentry program, which the union participates in. Is that correct? And I don't believe they're earning money, but they're being trained, and being the unions participating, it gives them a leg up in that thing. So that's what this bill concerns. Any comments?
We did support this bill. We submitted testimony. The hearing was on 2/4 and decision-making was moved to 2/11.
Question, Kristen, did Jazz Williams chime in at all? I think he runs a very strong program.
I had to leave the hearing early, so I'm not sure if he did or not, but I would imagine he did.
He's a real asset in my view.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, House Bill 2356, offender reentry employment. It requires while the bill addresses all potential employers, the bill uses employment with the military as an example, stating prior criminal convictions may be waived when employers are considering, quote, factors such as seriousness of conduct, evidence of rehabilitation, and likelihood of recurrence. Requires BCR to provide certificates for qualified individuals as evidence of these mitigating factors to increase their eligibility for employment upon release. I really don't understand how this can work, especially when using the military as an example. They have their own guidelines, and the state is not going to impact what their guidelines are. Estimating an individual's possible recidivism or recidivism possibility is really a fool's errand. It's very hard for us to give a certificate that says, oh, their rate of recidivism is probably 20% or something. So I really don't understand how this would be helpful to anybody. We could just skip it. That's one of the things we could do. Mark? Oh, I thought you had a hand up.
No, I'm fine with that.
This one, the next one, Senate Bill 2288. I don't know whether Kristen's had enough time to talk to DOH yet, but this is mental illness, penal responsibility, and fitness to proceed. And according to the preamble, this bill aims to include habitual misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors. And to me, this measure is much more than that, because it appears to be adding substantial elements to penal responsibility and fitness to proceed. So I need assistance with this one. I didn't quite understand it that well.
Yeah.
Except it was expanding them to habitual misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors.
I would stay out of this one.
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Sure, of course.
This Ron, you have something. You go ahead, buddy. I deal all the time in my mediation practice with fitness to proceed. Can you make and communicate responsible decisions regarding your person? and it requires usually an assessment or evaluation. It's a hornet's nest, but it shouldn't slow down the train yet. I do worry about that if they fasten onto that and delay things. It has to be decided pretty quickly. So just FYI.
Okay. The next is,
Before we move on, I'm
Sure.
sorry, I'm kind of behind, gentlemen. In HB 2044 and HB 2356 related to offender reentry, like the question that's in my head is where is correctional industry in all of this? Yeah, we're saying to give DCR the ability to do these programming, which it sounds to me that's what correctional industry should be doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because I haven't really researched it, but that's the thing that's popping out to me. Why is the correctional industry included in this? And that's the reentry aspect of DCR is the correctional industry element. So telling them to do something that they should be doing already. And we've already stated that they're not complying with the full reentry, all the reentry laws. So I'm not saying here or there, but it's just a question right now. If we support this, where is correctional industry in this language?
Well, I think we can support it and then express our concerns if that's what we want. Or just express concerns without support and state clearly that we would support it, except for this particular big issue that's never been addressed. That's what I would think we should do. Because I think your point is an excellent one. I mean, it's something that's central and core to what they're supposed to be trying to do for these folks to get them out and get them strong and healthy within the community.
I'm just going to give you one example, gentlemen, because you've been with us when we went to Halaba and we went to the back where the warehouses are. That's
Right.
basically used to be run by correctional industry, and we saw how empty
There's
that was.
nothing there.
And when I was working there, the full height of correctional industry, there was almost 200 guys working back there.
Right.
You know, a multitude of programming. So we need to question what's happening in correctional industry. Thank you.
I agree with Mark, and I would like to make it an agenda item for the future, because correctional industries in the past were teaching people skills. Right now, the correctional industries include packing store orders, which is not teaching you a skill. We used to call community service work lines, going out and cleaning the side of the roads for DOT. That is now called correctional industries, and it was not in the past. So I'm very concerned about, we don't have correctional industries today.
Yeah.
So I'd like it as another agenda, another meeting agenda item.
Yes.
Okay, corrections restrictive housing group. I do appreciate very much that Carrie Ann Shirota did a review of this and provided us with the points. Do you want to review the points?
Sure. Yeah, so I think overall, this bill deeply weakens the integrity of Act 292, which was passed last year on restrictive housing. It removes reporting requirements. It removes oversight. It removes quarterly reports and updates. There's a lot of language that was changed within the bill that shifts things from the department shall to the department may, which obviously is a big difference. And so my concern, along OHA and many others, is that this bill is the department's attempt to kind of repeal what was passed last year when it comes to restrictive housing and banning solitary confinement.
Yeah.
So I recommend we continue to be involved with this bill.
I agree.
Oh,
I agree.
next is DCR specific bills. So the first one is to reduce the reliance on private out-of-state facilities. So this would relate to the facility in Arizona. It does not impact the approximately 35 inmates who are handled through the Western Interstate Compact. And they go to public facilities. They go to either state or federal facilities. Do you know what our current population in Saguaro is? Probably about
It's
800.
right around 800.
Around 800, so it would be reducing that.
Yeah,
Or-
so we did submit testimony on this. There was a hearing on 2.4 and decision making will be on 2.11. The one thing that I wanted to say about this bill is that the testimony that I was able to put together is not as thorough as I think it could be. I think one of the things that we could really dig into and talk about is how the timelines on this bill are actually pretty long. It gives DCR years to reduce 25%, and then more years to keep going. And I actually think that could be cut down pretty significantly based on the current bed space that is not being utilized in minimum and furlough facilities. So
The current classification.
at their current classification, right? Like without changing the classification system, without changing laws, without changing anything else. Like there are people who are eligible to be in minimum and furlough facilities who are not there. So I think we can be more detailed in that testimony just to help legislators understand that like this is not an unreasonable request and we don't need to give them years to succeed in doing it.
And the next two bills are just short form bills, and we just monitor those to see if anything that may impact us is introduced at a later date. So they're just for monitoring purposes. And the next is body cameras for ACO correctional, for the correctional officers. You got a comment on that? How do you feel about it?
I'm sure you would love that.
I really don't know how that would, you know, I looked at that and I visited a juvenile facility in Texas a few years ago, and I was shocked when I went in and I saw all the officers had body cams on, you know, and that's when I didn't know that they were in corrections. There's always the thought of it's a good idea, you know, especially when you're dealing with your more higher levels. I'm looking at all the information that can be garnered from just the interactions. Because if I'm not mistaken, police officers seem to, whenever they're engaging the public is when they turn it on. Yeah, and so that is all monitored. And you can really see how, if a correction officer walks into a series and he turns his camera on, how behavior might change because everybody knows they're being filmed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody thinks it's for the correctional officers so they do good, but it's also for the ones who are being, you know, observed. Yeah. So there's always positive, negative. Sometime in the mid-90s is when we had to do our takedowns in the cells. They started making us use video cameras. You know, and that was a big issue for the officers, you know, using cameras. And, you know, the camera was always, you know, you had 4 guys going in the cell and the 5th guy was the one with the camera. So you put the tallest guy in front of him, you know, but we learned after a while, because you're afraid to use the camera. We had learned after a while how beneficial it was to have it, you know, because, you know, when we say that something happened, it was observed, because the camera normally comes in and observes all the, you know, the de-escalation techniques.
Yeah, the plan.
Yeah, the plan, and then the plan even before you even go in. Yeah, so that they could show that they've tried everything before they had to take that next step. You know. You know, so I think there's positive. One of the first things that came to my mind was, oh, what's the budget on that going to be?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with the overtime and everything else like that, you know, I think it's beneficial, but I think it's going to come down to the money.
I agree.
Yeah. Or if they roll it out, you know, I think Halava being our medium would be the first choice to operate it. You know, or even in our segregation and mental health units or restrictive housing units, that'll be a good place to start it off. Instead of saying we're going to provide for 1,000 correction officers, we're going to start and we're going to pilot in our segregation units, in our restrictive housing units.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a good thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we did submit, I know it says not submit, we did submit testimony on this. It was heard on 128 and it was passed with amendments. The only amendment that was passed was to give DCR an additional year to implement due to the cost concerns. But that's an excellent finding. We definitely amend our testimony and add in that recommendation. I think that makes sense.
I would hope the legislature would fund this. Anytime you have cameras and there's an issue of what actually is going on. You know, camera films it in real time. It's just like cameras in the courtroom, you know. You got cameras in the courtroom, it puts everybody good behavior. And you look at the record, there it is. Not say he says, she says, and just like outside, you know, when things are going on, now we got the social media with people with cameras, things like that. I think it's a good thing, and there's also a bad thing as far as, you know, what is real. Even now with AI, we can manufacture fake photos and things like that. But by and large, I think cameras basically records the real time, and if the real time is an issue of what happened there, I think cameras are a good thing to have.
If I could add one more thing, one more area, I think what would be profound if cameras were used in our intake areas. Yeah, especially if people saw what Hilo has to go through in their intake area, you know, and OCCC on a Monday night, you know, and they got close to 100 bodies coming in, yeah, and the state of what they have to see of these individuals coming in, you know. And I think every intake process on all our jails would be an interesting visual for people to realize what those officers have to go through on a daily basis.
What about officers who are assigned to suicide watch?
Yep.
Yeah. That's true.
If I could, I think the issue of transparency and authenticity is exactly what Ron's saying, the judges are saying, and Mark. We used to, even the press, even in the old days, couldn't go in the courtroom, so we allowed it, obviously. We embraced it. Then the cameras, and that even the judges were split on that. And exactly what Ron's saying, once people saw what went on, I hope it built trust and accountability. And if it didn't, the judge has to stand the jerk. So I'm a big fan of transparency.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, wrongful conviction and imprisonment. I put this on the list just to see if anybody had interest in us participating in this.
Nope.
Any comments?
I mean, I think just based on our values of accountability, I think it makes sense to support it. I don't think it has to be super in depth or anything, but I don't know.
It's not within our wheelhouse. This is just an issue having to do that I think is an issue that's important, but it's an issue for the court for the most part. I don't know how it affects the prison per se, reentry, rehabilitation, all those various different things.
The question I had is, Bill Harrison really knows about this. He's done a couple of these cases where it's turned out people need, and when I was a parole commissioner, several people, they were righteously either not guilty or the sentence was so egregious it had to be reduced. So maybe this is not within our wheelhouse, maybe it is, but we've got good people in the community that speak very eloquently about this, including Bill Harrison.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying it's important. I'm also saying that there's support out there. I'm saying that when it comes to what our statutory mandate was, this doesn't fall underneath that umbrella as far as I'm concerned.
And I have to agree with that. It doesn't fall within our umbrella.
Yeah, you know, the fact that it is something maybe morally all citizens should support, but looking charged under the statute, certainly, as I stated earlier, I think, and we touched on this, we should all focus on what is our mandate,
Right.
That not drawn too far out of our focus wise, and hopefully that our support means something, because we're not supporting everything, and the ones that we support, we feel are important.
Agreed.
Okay, miscellaneous measures. The first one is the Penal Code Review Committee recommendations. I did not go through the whole statute. I don't know what changes they're making in that. but I presume some have to do with sentencing. And just should we be involved with this or not involved with this?
No,
This should have been on the sentencing bill. Sorry if you wanted to talk about the sentencing bills altogether.
Yeah. The next one, was warrantless, arrest or citations being given. And, I don't have access to a lot of data, but this could impact the number of misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors coming into the jail. I just can't give you like an impact, what it would be, how important this would be in having this take place. Because we know that a lot of our homeless come in on very, very minor offenses with $10, $25 bail. And if this would allow citations instead of bringing them in, that would be an advantage for us. Comments?
is that what it does? It says that instead of an individual being arrested and taken in, they can be given a citation?
Yes, in lieu of arrest for certain petty misdemeanors and violations.
Well,
But
that
it
makes
says
sense
that
to support, because I think it does suppress the numbers of pretrial detention. But I think if we're going to testify and support on that, we do go on that narrow issue as opposed to, warrantless. Whatever the basis is that they talk, well, I mean, the first part of it, whether or not they can support the issue about warrants and the requirements for them to document those kinds of issues that it sort of mentions in the preview.
Okay, so it's really, we're looking at the issuing citations, yeah?
Right.
And if we're able to do any further analysis to get data, that would help, yeah?
Right.
Okay, the next under the miscellaneous is the Habitual Violent Offenders Act. And the only thing I'm concerned about this was allowing the certain habitual violent offenders to be mandatory incarceration. I think also to increase the penalty for them. And I do understand why this law or this proposal is expanding the amount of time that the Criminal Justice Research Institute has to show its effectiveness, but at the same time, it is eliminating the sunset date for this law. And the whole purpose of the study was to determine whether we should keep the law. So that's the only thing I disagree with. It should not be eliminated. It should be changing the sunset date, not eliminating the sunset date. May not be in our wheelhouse. It's a little bit of our wheelhouse because it would be mandatory imprisonment for people who, or increased crime, increased sentencing.
I don't think it's in our wheelhouse, and I think to the extent that it is, it's sort of very tenuous. And I think to Mike's point, we want to limit our testimony so that to points to issues that are within our Kuriana, but not to the place and point where it's our word or our say is diluted in any sort of way.
I agree. Did Aaron weigh in on this or not?
Erin Harbinson is the director of the Criminal Justice Research Institute, and she was helpful in that just describing that like her relation to it is just that like they're there to help and that they get an extended timeline. But she was kind of making the point to me that although this is a habitual offender bill, which can sound like the 3 strike law bills, which we know are horrific, it also seems like this is related to a very small and very specific group that it would impact. And so like
it would have little impact on the admissions to.
I mean, it's like, it's hard to say that direct, but that's what it appears to be, like, based on the specifics.
Yeah.
But with that said, like, I think in general, any type of 3 strike type of law, we should be very careful about supporting, knowing what we know about historic laws passed.
Okay. The next one is the gubernatorial appointments for people who make greater than $160,000 a year who are appointed by the governor. They would subject them to advice and consent of the Senate, and so that, of course, would include Christian's position. And this would really greatly expand the number of people that the legislature has to have hearings on each year. So I don't know what they're going to think about this, but it does impact Christian's position, and Christian is concerned about more politics being involved in an oversight role.
Yeah, so we did submit testimony on this. It was heard on 2-3, and basically the testimony outlined that an oversight commission is meant to be independent and particularly from political influence. And so the concern is that because the oversight coordinator position is already appointed by a government official, being the governor, there's concern that looping in, the legislature or the Senate specifically could just add to removing more independence, and having really like a lot of concern with political influence.
You have to look at we are all chosen by someone, right? And outside of the judiciary and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, it's all from the legislature. I don't think the commission, I don't know how I would state it, but really, in this particular role, I don't think they're thinking. I'm curious to see what positions are they talking about. I only know of the commissioners being appointed.
Yeah. I'm interested and I'm curious about the politics behind this particular bill because it's political to me and politically motivated. And so as I told Kristen this, I looked at the preamble of the bill that was written, so it's a commentary, and as you guys probably read, it's all directed at homelessness.
Yes.
So, I don't understand if that's the case.
Yeah.
Whoever's the author of the bill, if that was the sole issue, why the bill wasn't tailored to address that issue as opposed to this sort of general sort of process. So my point is that, some of this would be helpful to understand, and Kristen had related to me that this bill had been proposed in the past and not passed. So, as I said, I think it would be interesting to understand this bill a little bit more, to see what that prior testimony was, which would give us a better understanding of just sort of what the dynamics are as we go into further.
I'm just not quite sure. The only thing was in the past was Christian's position specifically.
No,
So it wasn't the general bill
No, this specific bill has come up in the past.
that all these people would be. Oh, okay. So we didn't submit testimony on it in the
Yeah,
past.
I don't think so. And I think the reason for that was, if I'm remembering correctly, this was a few years back, but I think what happened is that they had their first hearing before we had this meeting, and then they deferred it in that first hearing. Like, it just didn't make it far. So
Okay, and so this deferral here, it's not for decision making, it's just deferred to another date?
Yeah, it says deferred to 5 at 3
Okay.
o'clock. So
That's not decision making.
Is it deferred already?
Yeah, it was heard on the 3rd.
It's
Oh, it's probably gone, man.
but they deferred it to a specific date though, which
Today.
is slightly
Oh, they
confusing.
did.
at 3 p.m.
Yeah,
So they
today.
did
Today at 3.
defer it? Same committee?
Same.
Yeah, same committee.
So it wasn't decision making deferred, it's a bill deferred.
Yeah. So I don't know what is happening, but I can definitely do more research, and that's a good idea to look at prior testimony and see. And then
When I heard about it, Mark, and I agree with you, I specifically thought about what we went through last year. That if this was another, roundabout way, but then when I read, the preamble and whatnot, I said, "Oh, this sounds like it's coming from a whole other direction," and she's just getting looped in.
yeah, to be clear, I don't think that this is personal to the
Yeah.
commission at all.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is an attack on the commission by any means. It impacts the commission. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it would be good to get a better understanding. So I'll do a little more digging to understand this better. But But we did submit testimony. We kept it brief. We just let them know, just reminding them that this would impact the oversight coordinator position. And we were just concerned about the level of independence. That's all. So.
Okay, the next is the Office of Child Advocate. The only reason I have this on here is that we are an oversight commission, and this is recommending something similar to this for a much broader group of juveniles, but it does, or children. It does mention the juvenile justice system, and it also mentions children that are placed in public or private institutions. So if we were interested in submitting this, it would just be a very general one saying oversight would be beneficial to those that are involved with these systems. But we can ignore it also if we choose to, because it's not part of our Kuliana.
I think in terms of looking at previous stats a decade ago, and we know how many children in the criminal justice system are children of incarcerated parents. Yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Just for that statement alone, it's something that we should look at and support, because those children and their caregivers need an avenue to grieve. Yeah, the things are not getting what they need to be getting, et cetera, et cetera. It's part of that whole circle of family. I think we have some on it.
Yeah, the other thing is it heavily revolves around children in the foster care system, and we know just based on stats, like you are significantly more likely to be incarcerated if you've been a part of the foster care
or the
system
juvenile
as a child.
justice system.
or juvenile justice. So I think both of those are
Those foster care are.
Okay, the last one on the list, I just wanted to, the last one on the list, claims against the state. I just put that here to make it clear. It is not the claims against the state. This has to do with reporting, asking the AG when they submit the claims against the state bill to include a report as to what each one of the cases involved, and it listed what they wanted. So it was only to bring to your attention when we're talking about claims against the state, this is not the one that actually has the claims.
Oh.
It's about reporting.
That's that.
So, I mean, I'm not saying we should testify in this, just wanted to bring it to your attention.
That would be helpful to know, though, because I do get a lot of questions about how many lawsuits the department has had to pay out on. And that information isn't always the easiest to find. So this would be an interesting.
This would only be those who would be included in the claims against the state bill. So we know from the claims against the state what lawsuits there are. Because they're listed. They tell you what the case number is and stuff.
We spend a lot of time in it, so I just want to indicate that it's a big problem. It's the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately. I wish it weren't.
So we require the Attorney General annual report recommended for approval, a total dollar amount of possible judgments against the state that have not yet settled.
Okay.
Requires the legislative report to describing the claims against the state to include additional information. So being that the case, as I recall, in the claims against the state, they do have the names. We can look that up on this bill and the regular claims against the state that has dollar amounts in it.
I agree, we don't need to support this bill.
Yeah.
It's a good, I mean, the information's out there. It's good information to have, but is it something that falls within our curriculum? Again, it's not.
Yeah. And I did not intend for us to testify on this. Just wanted to bring it to your attention because that's almost the same title as the regular claims against the state.
All right. Appreciate it.
Okay, so you want to review it again?
Yeah, so now you need to open it up for if there's any public testimony.
So how much people we have in the room?
There's 3.
There's 3.
Do we have any public testimony? For those of you who are here with us, thank you for being part of that. Well, you're going to be part of that conversation. If you have anything you would like to say at this time in regards to the bills that we have just discussed.
No hands up? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you.
Did you take notes on all of them? I'm going to ask Kristen.
Okay.
Thank you, Kristen.
That's it. So I'll run through the bill numbers very quickly.
You want to go? Okay, the governor's package, these are the ones.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do that. And so I'll just run through based on the conversation, what I'm assuming the commission would like to support, not support, or stay silent on. And then if I get it wrong, just please let me know so I can make a note. Okay, starting in the governor's package. So SB 3070 and HB 2250, we're going to monitor no testimony. SB 3075, HB 2255, monitor no testimony. SB 3106 and HB 2287, we're going to support because this is relevant to the correctional staffing report also. SB 3107 and HB 2288, we are not going to support this due to Commissioner Torney's points earlier about requiring people to participate in work furlough before release. That's just going to prevent more people from being released.
So it'll be selective in what we're going to point in this job, what we're going to discuss, yeah.
Just one last comment on this. You know, we always hear that the programs are full and that they're waiting. The biggest issue is that's not an excuse, yeah? The department should have waiting programs. Yeah. Because if you're waiting, then you're idle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you know, give you an example. When I was the warden, our evidence-based substance abuse program was the Hinomoka program that had a residential inside of the facility, and there was a long waiting list. But a lot of those women that were waiting to get in was also participating in faith-based programs like Total Life Recovery, which wasn't evidence-based, but was being recognized by the parole board as a substantial, she wasn't in the substance abuse, but she was doing faith-based. So at least the individuals have something they can go to the parole board and say, I've been waiting, but I've been also participating in this. Yeah. And so I think that's something that DCR needs to look at in terms of what is the waiting program? Yeah. How do we do that? It can be something as simple as doing journals. Yeah.
Yeah, and so again, and to Mike Town's comment, this not having the programs available just slows the train down.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to see that train moving faster.
Okay, HB 1800 and SB 2500. These are related to the state budget. We don't have any budget requests, but the commission did potentially talk about supporting the department's request, and so I wanted to double check on this if we wanted to submit testimony to support the department.
If they have things related to rehabilitation and treatment.
Okay, and I did ask Director Johnson for the breakdown of his, so I will note that.
When we vote, say if we vote on the governor's package, we just say it as stated in this
I
conversation.
think so.
Yeah.
Are you folks okay with that?
Okay,
Is it no?
so in that case, yeah, don't let me skip ahead. So governor's package, so that's everything in the governor's package.
I'll take a motion to accept the Oversight's testimony on the governor's package, what we will support, what we will not support. You folks want me to go over that? You're okay?
Second.
Been moved by Mike Town and seconded by Mark Brown that we accept the governor's package as provided by the Oversight Commission's Oversight Coordinator's testimony. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say motion carried.
I don't think we need to do that voting until the very end, because it's all under number 3.
Well, I'm just trying to speed this up because it's going to each of the sections that is missing in the report. What in the bill?
Okay, so the next section is bail, and so based on our amazing judges who went through these, it sounds like the commission will support the bills that consider financial ability, and so in that case, the commission would support HB 1516. The commission will not
And also its companion, SB 2732.
Yes, and its companion SB 2732. The commission will stay silent or not submit testimony on SB 2279, SB 2280, SB 2762, and then the commission will support SB 3208 and its companion HB 2413. Did I get that correct?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Those are the end of the bail bills.
I'll take a motion to accept the bill package as provided by the Oversight Coordinator.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mike Howell and seconded by Mark Brown that we accept the bill.
Browning. He said Brown, Browning.
Browning, sorry,
Thank you.
as provided by the Oversight Coordinator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say motion passed. Reentry.
Okay, moving forward to reentry, rehabilitation, and treatment. Based on the commission's discussion, the commission will support HB 1628, SB 2688, HB 1518, SB 2417, HB 2044, HB 2356, and the commission will not the commission will not submit any testimony or stay silent on SB 2288.
HB 2356. This one I had concerns about.
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
I'm just gonna add it correctly in the question.
Yeah. So,
The big thing that I liked about this is that it requires the department to work with government and private stakeholders about actually hiring people who are coming out of the
Yeah.
facilities. That was one of the big things that
it just, what concerned me was that one of the things they're supposed to factor is what's their chance of recidivism. And I think that's not fair.
Okay.
But then my suggestion is that we support in part and,
Yeah, support and
you
support.
know,
Support.
support in part and not support in part.
Sometimes I hear when they testify and support, but these are our reservations.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion to accept the reentry, rehabilitation, and treatment bills as listed and discussed by the Oversight Coordinator.
So moved.
Been moved by Mike Town and seconded by Mark Browning. That we accept the reentry, rehabilitation, treatment bills as presented by the Oversight Coordinator. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
All opposed say motion passed. Restrictive housing.
All right, there's only one in this section, and I recommend that the commission does not support this bill based on how much it weakens the integrity of Act 2292, which restricts or limits solitary confinement.
So
I greatly support that position.
When we're, let me ask a clarification. When we're not supporting, are we still submitting a testimony?
Yes,
One
yes,
testimony?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be clear if we're just gonna stay silent or not say anything, yeah. Yeah,
And
so
again, I really appreciate Carrie Ann's comments.
I'll take a motion for the restrictive housing SB 2381 as presented by the Oversight Coordinator.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Martha Tanay and seconded by Mike Brown.
Browning.
Mike Town.
Oh, Mike Town.
Sorry. Sorry, guys. Next time we put them on different pictures, separate the pictures. Any further discussion? All opposed, all in favor say aye.
Thanks.
All opposed say motion passed.
Okay, now we're moving into DCR specific bills. HB 1769, the commission will support, but also add more stats to the testimony about how this could be done sooner than later. HB 1818, monitor no testimony. HB 1819, monitor no testimony. SB 2030, recommending supporting, however, including comments that maybe this should be more tailored or focused to mental health, including suicide watch intake and restrictive housing units.
And so that's usually to support the intent, support the intent with, comments.
And that's the end of that section.
Okay, and I take a motion for the DCR specific bills as presented by the Oversight Coordinator.
So moved.
Second,
It's been moved by Martha Tornay and seconded by Ron Ibarra that we accept the DCR specific bills as presented by the Oversight Coordinator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passed. Wrongful convictions.
Wrongful conviction and imprisonment. It is recommended that the commission passes or stays silent on HB 2493 and SB 3294 due to it being outside of our jurisdiction.
I'll take a motion.
So moved.
second,
It's been moved by Martha Tornay and seconded by Ron Ibarra that a wrongful conviction and imprisonment as presented by the Oversight Coordinator. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say. Motion passed. Miscellaneous measures.
Okay, miscellaneous measures on disregard HB 2414. That's related to sentencing. We're going to talk about that in the next agenda item. So with HB 2494, I'm actually not sure of the commission's stance.
We said that we would support a narrow part of that, and it's the issuing the citations as it may divert people from going into jail.
Okay,
Right.
so support
In part,
in part.
and be specific to that. And I think we need to look at it a little more carefully too. Upon more careful review,
I tell you, the issue of the citation gives the law enforcement another tool to use rather than just arresting.
yeah,
Yeah, this has been submitted in prior
yeah,
sessions.
it's been discussed a lot.
That were passed.
Mark, a caveat here that my view, which has been regularly expressed, that we're overly criminalized and overly felonized in Hawaii. The legislature uses the criminal law as a policy tool when it shouldn't be. Many states, it's much skinnier and shorter, but that's just me worrying out loud. So I just want to talk about that. And you're going to see that coming up along the line. Thank you.
Okay, for SB 2520 and HB 2078, there was various discussion between either not supporting based on the potential alignment with 3 strikes laws, or staying silent on it.
I think it's no testimony.
Yep.
No testimony, okay. Okay, SB 2862, the commission will not support this measure as it does impact the oversight coordinator, but I will be doing more research on the background of this bill. HB 1805, the commission will support the intent.
It's a general, we think it's a good idea to have oversight. It's a general comment.
So support,
Yes, support.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. HB 1653, SB 2311,
Nope,
we
that
will
was just for
skip,
information only.
so no testimony. And I believe, yes, that is all for that section.
I'll take a motion to accept all the miscellaneous measures as presented by the Oversight Coordinator.
So moved.
second,
Been moved by Mark Letourneau and seconded by Ron Ibarra that the miscellaneous measures be accepted at this time as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed same. Motion passed.
Okay, number 4 now.
Yes.
I didn't mean for us to be looking at these bills individually. I just wanted to give examples of sentencing bills and whether we wanted to take a position or not. And I wanted to bring to your attention that in the past, the Department of Public Safety, for 4 years, we had the sentencing simulation project, and the sentencing simulation project was so that bills could be put through that system and you could find out what the impact would be on correctional populations. Unfortunately, it was funded by a federal grant and some state funds, but when the grant ran out 4 years later, the legislature chose not to fund us. But they kept on asking us for these impact bills. So I was just going to suggest that on sentencing bills, we just do a general statement that they do consider the impact on the correctional population as they consider these bills, or they look at the impact. I shouldn't say look at it, they don't have the ability to look at it, but they just consider the impact on the correctional population as they are considering sentencing bills. I did not mean to go through each one of these individually at all.
Talking about making a general testimony.
So it's whether we want to make any comment at all about sentencing bills' impact on correctional populations.
And Martha, my only comment is, look, place like Missouri, if a judge hammers somebody, he or she has to come up with like a impact statement. And I think that's wise, so they can't overly clobber somebody. But that's just, again, one of my many worries about the criminal justice system's limitations. So that's all I really have.
I mean, the basic question is the same. Does this fall under the umbrella of the statute that we are called to follow? And I think, we said earlier this month or later last month that anything having to do with penal code is not something within our Juliana. And clearly sentencing is right there in the middle of all the stuff that goes on within the criminal justice system, which does have some sort of effect tangentially, but that's not the focus of what those bills are about. I think everybody understands from a commonsensical standpoint that the stricter the particular sentencing laws are and statutes are, you're going to have more people in prison. That's not the point. That we're trying to address. I mean, what I mean by that is that we have to be really careful about the capital that we have, as we spoke about earlier, that we have as a commission. I mean, I don't think that the commission, I think we all agree that there's nothing in the statute that says that we are here to address every ill within the criminal justice system.
It does not say that, but under 353L3, number 2, we are to establish maximum inmate population limits for each correctional facility and formulate policies and procedures to prevent the inmate population from exceeding the capacity of each correctional facility. Sentencing bills does fall into that.
I don't think so. I think you're really stretching that to say that it does. It doesn't to me. I just worry that all the big issues that we have coming in front of us with respect to what this commission was designed, the bill plan, was envisioned to do, that this will somehow dilute our effectiveness in our.
I tend to agree with Mark that it's a matter of ultimately of judging and judicial training. We have a Chief Justice vacancy now, and I'm gritting my teeth on this one. I see both sides, obviously. I got it, but I'm not sure that we need to go down this bramblebush path yet.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a sitting judge and I'm sitting on an issue of sentencing, there's nothing in the law that says I need to consider or I should consider what the long-term impact is on prison population. And I wouldn't, ever. So I
Well,
don't know.
but the
What the-
commissioner attorney isn't suggesting that we say that judges consider that. She's suggesting that we tell the legislature to consider it before passing the bill. Because I will say, I feel torn because my only concern is that we all know that crime does not dictate the prison population, right? Like it's policy and penal code. And so when our statute is talking about specifically how we have to somehow create, which to be fair, I think that was a very unfair part to put in our mandate, but for us to have to create policy to make sure that the prison population doesn't go
The
over,
incarcerated populations of jails and prisons.
right? Like the incarcerated population doesn't go over. Like I think, I think like really one of the only ways to do that outside of reentry or diversion is reminding the legislature that when you're looking at tougher sentencing, like that is undoubtedly going to increase the prison population. And I think that is a part of.
Especially
Yeah,
men.
but I don't know that that's sort of a concept. If we're not drawing a line, then why should we wait on issues relative to Ben that we decided to pass on? Why shouldn't we weigh on anything and everything that has to do with the impact that the criminal justice system or the judicial system has with respect of a variety of different sort of categories on that ultimate outcome of whether or not someone goes to prison? So, I'm okay with whatever the group decides, obviously. But I'm thinking that one of the things I think is important is for us to be consistent, logically, and from an analysis standpoint, and to be clear so that we're not jumping in and out of different sort of ponds that are sort of rotating around the central issue of what happens in our prison systems, which we are statutory mandated to look at.
So with that said, is it fair to say, like, based on our capacity, like, we're not quite ready to take on it? Because I think that's a fair.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Ron?
Well, I think, I agree with you. Certainly, if we're to extend our jurisdiction to everything, which we could say, because it affects our prison population.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to get into telling other agencies how to do their job, basically. But they should consider, I would think, in the back of their minds, options to prison, options to incarceration. And I just am hesitant to tell these other agencies, look, our job is prison capacity. So we're overcrowded now, so you cannot send them to prison. Basically, I think it's a matter of education. If we are going to do that, maybe we can be more subtle and say, if we're going to support something, say, well, we support the intent or, basically, but we do not want to go into other areas that are not our culianos, so to speak, although we can, like Marcus says, go into everything, because in the event, again, you're looking at prison, and I feel uncomfortable to tell other agencies, look, do not send them to prison, because we say our mandate is so many inmates, and right now we're overcrowded, basically, unfortunately. And even if we said that, what do we do if they don't follow it anyway? There goes our capital, so to speak.
The last thing I'll say is, like, I guess my thought process is that if this commission existed during the tough on crime days, like when 3 strikes laws were really heavy and mandatory sentencing and mandatory minimums, like, I would hope that this commission tried to fight against that, given what it's created today. And so, like, I think that's what my mind keeps going back to, but yeah.
Testimony is either support or no support, right? There's no
No,
third option.
You can add comments.
Yeah. You can
just do
say
comments.
intent, you can make comments and stuff like that.
Maybe I don't see us, because there's a lot of them. There could be a general statement.
No, I'm not even, I'm sorry that these bills got listed like this. I just wanted a general discussion
Yeah.
about sentencing bills. I do not want to go through every single bill that is here. I will state, though, that our commission absorbed the former Corrections Population Management Commission, which I staffed out. And it was through that commission that we established the sentencing simulation model, and Bambi Wild was a chair at that time. And it was because we were concerned about especially mandatory sentencing. And so we did that to inform the legislature. It's unfortunate today we do not have the mechanism to inform the legislature. All we can do is tell them, be aware this may have an impact on the population. If we as a commission choose not to, that's fine. I would like in the future to have something like a sentencing simulation model again, though, to do that. I oversaw that project also. So my feelings are strong because I've been there, done that. So we need to take a vote. We need to decide what the issue is going to be. So I'll move it forward that the commission will not take a position on sentencing bills. I move that the commission not take a position on sentencing bills.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the sentencing bill as presented in this discussion, that the commission not take a position at this time. Any further discussion?
Mark, very briefly, I've worked a lot with new judges, and the first year or two that they're a new judge, they get reviewed by, is it Rule 19, Ron and Mark?
Yeah.
That's the year they take a lot of lickings because they're brand new, the attorneys know it, and they'll want to chime in and take their pound of flesh. But they get through that first couple of years, they're pretty well educable. So but we have to have real solid Chief Justice, judicial education, and let the judges work their will. So judges are there for sound discretion. And they're not all prosecutors or public defenders. They generally are very fair people, and they learn as they go. I think in Japan, you have to be a judge, a temporary judge for about 10 years before you're a city judge. When I became a judge, I had to figure out how to zip up my robe. So it takes a while to get 2 years into the system here. So I'm in agreement with the motion. That's all I have to say.
So I want to stress again that in making a comment, it is to the legislature. It is not interfering with judges making any decision whatsoever. It is letting the legislature know you passed this law and it may increase or decrease the incarcerated population. It does not imply any imposition on judges whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suspect, or I'm pretty sure that there would be testimony from others in the system, such as judges, about mandatory sentencing or
For sure.
personally, as a judge, I don't like mandatory minimum terms because it takes away the discretion of the judge. Everything is cookie cutter approach, and that's not the way to do it. But as a commission in our field, I don't think, and I agree, regarding our jurisdiction and we should not take part in something that's so open, where you have different viewpoints and you really cannot show specific objective measurements of which way to go, because people have strong feelings, mandatory minimum, no mandatory minimum, and things and other stuff. So.
Okay, thank you.
Before we take a vote, I'm going to ask for any public testimony at this time. Anything, George?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passed. Let's move on to item number 5. Hello, everyone who's still on thank you for being part of the discussions that we've been having on the bills. I will open up for public testimony for anything that's not on the agenda for consideration for the commissioner's agenda at the next meeting. at this time. Hearing none. Next week, Thursday, February 12th, is our next meeting. We have no facility tour scheduled. Thank you, commissioners, for being here today and taking on this. I was sharing with Kristen just the other day how thankful I am that she's here to do these bills, having to,
Yeah.
what me and Martha had to experience during COVID and without an oversight coordinator.
The one thing we do ask is that commissioners participate in the legislative process. Ronnie Barr in the past has been assisting us with this. I've testified, Mark has testified, Ted used to testify. Mike Town on a few issues was testifying also. So it's not just that we expect Kristen to submit testimony and Mark to be the only voice in the legislature. We should all be participating.
Yeah, and Zoom is always an option too.
Yeah, you don't have to go down to the Capitol.
But we'll be sure to, I'll update the list, based on today's discussion. We'll get it posted on our website as well for people who want to follow along. And then I'll make sure, commissioners, that all of you are updated as quickly as humanly possible regarding any upcoming hearings. Sometimes they post them a little late, but I think they've been trying to be better about that.
I think because of the way the legislature works and how information comes out and how hearing notices can be less than 24 hours,
It's a little tough.
consider the oversight coordinator and their staff to be using texting a little bit more than emails. Okay, so expect that, but I think the communication is much faster when she can text something and get response from us faster to help her in her formulations of the testimonies and when she has questions that she needs to get answered.
Yeah. And if you don't get a response, call.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'm not looking at my phone.
Yeah.
For a while.
You're gonna be
But
first on my list, you know that.
But if I hear it ringing,
Yeah,
I know.
no problem.
That's one thing when it's Browning, you're a B, so she's going alphabetical order.
Yeah. I'm so lucky.
All right, gentlemen, you guys have a great day. Aloha, everyone.